When there's people, there's art. And when there's pain, there's always articulation of condition, which is poet.
It
is an art form of truth. Even in the fiction that we say, it is inspired by and is from the truth.
I believe that art cannot change people, art cannot change anything, but it can influence change.
Sure.
Why? Because we let you know.
This is the situation.
Whoso, I want to tell you, when I follow Windsor.
Khoisan, it's your time. Make them remember. Mbodo, it's your time. Make them remember. Breaker, it's your time. Make them remember. Masara, it's your time. Bahriqua, it's your time. Zulu, it's your time. Make them remember.
When they ask about us, tell them that when silence was unsound, silence lost her focus. In the pockets of silence, we found notes of our voices, paid audience to freedom, and noted her ordinances. And that is when we grew tired of the leash, tired of the tight leash tied around our tight speech. We had to speak, to listen to our own voices, so to hear freedom teach. We raised our voices. We raised the tones of our voices with hisses of thrown stones, with whistles of strong palms, with missiles of coral storms. We raised our voices not for praise, but for you to raise your children with choices. And if they then do not believe in us, maybe you don't teach enough. Maybe they should watch our works, and surely they shall speak of us when they ask about us.
Yeah, you were saying?
Oh yeah, no, I was saying, see that house there? That house there, like that corner house there, this side. That's where the girl that made me start poetry lives. She lives right there. She lives right there. Yeah. What I did with the poetry, it wasn't really original. So that's what I did, right? She doesn't know this. So that's what I did. I went to old songs, like old country songs that people don't know of. Like your Kenny Rogers that people don't listen to, your Dolly Parton. Took one line here, one line there, one line there, one line there, merge them together. Voila. Poem. What you say? What you say? So yeah, I wrote my first original poem in 2004, my first year after seeing Flow.
Tell them that we stood firm in front of giants, in defiance, and we will not deny it. We forced giants down to their knees. So please, when they ask, do tell them to check themselves. Because we are advanced now.
2004, I go to VIT, orientation week. I think it was the 18th of February. I get there far by the amphitheater, by the Matrix. I see Flo Mokale performing there. I fell in love with poetry from then. And after that day, that's when I went home to write my first original poem. And it was horrible, of course. When I look back at it now. But hey, I was trying. This is where I had my very first poetry session in the world. This was organized by me and hosted by me. It was right here. The first time I met Mutle Mutibe even, because I invited him over. I had met Thabo Manoto first, and then he then brought Mutle Mutibe.
Judgment clouded, water rains out her pores as she lays there open. One should always shut their windows when they pray in tantra. One should always shut their eyes when they pray in tantra. One should always shut their windows, but not tonight. Her feet are in the air, her soul's exposed to the stars of my ceiling, revealing muffled proceedings, energy compressed, yearning for releasing. Pleasure weighs heavy on our clockwise, counter-clockwise. We counter the clock's wise decisions and move against time. There is precision in instinct, skin links. Eternity fills our space in between our blinks. Man, tight grip smudges my tattoos as her palms slide on my forearms like I swear she's trying to push up some invisible sleeves. Her pelvis heaves, and I finally enter. And her breath leaves. Her breath leaves like... And her breath... To my senses. Sensor. Sense is. Sensor.
That whole experience felt so awesome, Manezi. It felt so awesome. Cause it was me, you know? And I already fallen in love with this poetry thing. Like, obsessed with poetry. It's like what's up with you in school? Poetry. So I became obsessed with it. And I think, thinking back, had I known better, I could have just went to school and studied dramatic arts. I'd probably be a better artist. Maybe not, I don't know. But I think I would have been. So poetry became that channel. I love it a lot now, but I realize I'm not just a poet, you know? Because now I'm venturing into this comedy thing, and I'm also going to do hip-hop as well. The reason why I'm focusing in poetry so much is beyond it being the primary thing that I love. I just want to make it a recognizable genre. That's what I want to do. I want to make it possible for a poet to live off poetry.
Firstly, I believe that, like, as an artist, your work will be a reflection of who you are and what you value and what you invest your time in.
A writer will sit down and conjure the story within them, or understand the story that's coming through them, and then put it down with the use of language, bending it to fit the ears or the eyes that will read, the mind, holistically. And the spoken word artist is more concerned about his gestures and his pitch and tone, you know, the whole presentation part. So it's almost like a spoken word artist is the finished product of the writer.
Anybody can get on stage and say words. Anybody can sit down and write poetry. But I feel like it takes like quite a bit of artistry and quite a bit of research and quite a bit of intention and energy to get it to the point where like you move someone to the point where they feel like they've just witnessed the magic trick. And that's what I want to do with my art.
Poetry is part of literature,
Sure.
and literature is part of art, and art is a product of culture.
Sure.
And art to the African is an extension of oneself.
Our poetry is first and foremost about the people. It's not about the poets. You know, you don't want to come here talk about a raped girl, but you can't even stand next to that raped girl, recite the poem. I understand. You know, and you're just gonna do it to poets because it has the right puns, it has the right. So you're not moving, you're not touching anyone, you're just getting better as a writer, and you're getting doper every day. You're not touching, you're not moving people.
NgesiZulu, there's something called itakazelo, you know, and itakazelo, they basically trace the lineage of the family, you know. If umuntu uthi uyahaya itakazelo zakubo noma uyazisho, you actually get an understanding of where they're coming from, and to a certain extent, I think that's the role even commercial poets, if you want to call them commercial poets, or modern day poets, still have, you know. Because it's really sad, Ogoti, there are kids that do not know our history beyond 1994.
They came, carrying the ocean's lies in their eyes, ready to give birth to something, and they sold it to us. A foreign love that we eat, pray for, and love in return, never to return to the dirt, the stomping of feet, the cracks in our heels that scarred the streets, the medicine of flowers we bought. With the little freedom we had, we combined our hearts and bought into it. Only because we felt our God wasn't good enough. With curly hair and a gold's tail to split the seals, his brown was too thick. Too much of the dirt was embedded in him. His name sounded like earth. Like Kakamacholo is an exotic plant in the heart of Africa. Like Mvelingani is the wood used to make their pews, and I've seen them. Somewhat like missionaries of the past. My kind.
We write poetry for different reasons, you know. You don't have to be a political poet or a socially conscious poet, you know, in your writing. I mean, you can write about whatever. It's your form of healing, your way of giving back to yourself, you know. As a poet, you don't have to be, but as a human being, each and every person has to be politically and socially conscious in order for us to create a society that takes care and is aware of everything that is happening around it.
A droplet of madness befell our minds when we saw the sky paying mirror effects of the earth. The downside up, God boils in the earth's core beneath our feet. Stop wondering why fire's the coolest element. You know, I tried doing Manufacturing Kings at a TEDx gig last year and it didn't work, you know. I had to edit the poem while I was saying it, you know, omit those lines about black people and their poverty and stuff, because everybody there is about creativity and innovation and how beautiful the city is. But as a writer and a poet, seeing it, you know, is different from what those people were expecting. So the spoken word artist had to manipulate the work of the writer to fit the current state and say things that were, you know, okay for the people there to hear. But a writer was not doing it for anyone. He was just telling it like it is, you know, or like he wants to tell it.
Wasn't there compromise there in your work?
There's always a compromise, because we are trying to commercialize this whole thing. Poetry cannot be played on radio. Poetry cannot be a nice TV show at 8 o'clock on Saturday, because you're going to come there with the truth. You're going to come there with their reality. So now we have to clean up our stuff and say nice poems, when in actual fact, that's not the thing. The thing is that we're addressing issues that are there.
It is sad that it said if you want to hide money from the dark skin, then you should put it in the book, because black people don't read. Well, I wrote this poem in silence with my middle finger, so really, fuck the stereotypes. Behold your children, leaders of a tomorrow unknown to the present. They had gifts, the sky, and wrecked their existence to the world. They will lead, a book of life awaits in their hearts. Let them read. Read us today, lead us tomorrow. From the slumbering servants, we are manufacturing kings. From the slumbering servants, we awaken giants. Masters will rise from the ashes of these black bones, wearing proudly their night on their skins and their perpetual light within. It only makes sense to wear the dark outside and your brightness inside. After all, we're conceived by the lean sky, united. The night is our place of birth. Stars are born in the dark. Each of us holds within their chest a godly spark. Our empty stomachs are temples where God's grace has all this time been. To the open sky, we will transcend and fly. Awaken, yes, sleeping giants. Raise your heads, you humble servants of creation.
The narrative of Tomnyama, it's not told, it's not there, you know. Like people, they talk about us in a collective sense, you know, black people in the township, but there isn't any literature about black people in the township, who they are, you know, what the township has made them to become, you know. Like kunama uncle abhemi imboza abhemi BP abulawa ipachuchu, you know. And there is a reason. I mean, it's not with the uncle now He likes pachucho, like, you know, something in his life pushed him there, you know? And like, he's sort of trying to talk about those kinds of things, you know. In the artist gangayo, you know, and then there's the stereotypes of like young black male, more virtuous, you are a suspect, you know. But why? You know, he intends to get most young black males back when they were turning into crime.
Makafula Vilagas is 18 years old and has never seen a drop of high school blood. Makafula Vilagas was born naked and suffering and designated to a high unemployment, high populous quarter kept next to a pository suburb. His uncle is unemployed, his father is a literate taxi driver, his girlfriend is illiterate and pregnant. His older brother was shot for a Cavera deal right in front of Makafula Vilagas' troubled eyes. His aunt is in prison, bar shoplifting, mother, daughter of a domestic worker who fell in love with a Tamara 1950s gangster. I will not judge Makafula Vilagas, smiling and not dies in the way he takes us. Let God judge the criminals.
My grandmother used to say, son, no, don't do politics. Just do your poetry and stay far from these politics. My grandmother used to say, son, no, don't do politics.
As poets, what stories are we telling, you know? Are we really going to listen to people when they tell us that talking about apartheid has actually outlived its time? Hell to the freaking no. Because to a certain extent, people are still suffering off that legacy, you know, that was left by apartheid. If at some point you once called me a kafir, and you honestly honor, because there's a dude that I once seriously got into a serious brawl with in high school for calling me a kafir and spitting on my face, you know? I don't talk to that guy when I go to Petri because it's like, dude, you do not see me. I don't believe that you would suddenly wake up and say, yeah, this guy is on the same level as me. I don't see that. I just do not see it. Unless if you had to spin off something like the father of the nation did, because I think if you are held down for a long time, it gets to a point where whether we like it or not, man, it gets to a point where it no longer becomes about the people. It becomes about you. To say, what do I do to look out for myself? You know, like Biko said, you are on your own, you know? So I think to a certain extent, even though this is like a conspiracy of some sort, but I think to a certain extent, Mandela got to a point where he was like, yo, man, I'm on my own. And if I'm seriously going to push this radicalness and whatnot, chances are, because whether you like it or not.
And still, stolen dreams and broken screams continue to echo through the corridors of history. And the smoke from the tires they burn continues to choke our memory. If we broke free from the clutches of the smoke and attempt to remember, we would discover that the struggle has altered itself, but it still continues. We would notice that torching clinics and libraries sends us back as much as the corruption in our municipalities. If we get to remember, we would remember never to remember the dribbles and dashes of these politicians' mouths, for it is filled, passed from a septic wound, dressed to address us and atoned and stood by us and win our trust. If we care to stand still and listen.
The interesting thing is that I came across a quote that says, de Klerk said, I did not sit in the CODESA meetings to sell off my children's children. And I think in that sentence, it just says it all. You know, that they said, but to a certain extent, what's going on now is still gonna go on, you know? It's still gonna go on.
If we care to stand still and listen, we would hear how Ruth's first broken scream continues to echo through the corridors of history. And the smoke from the tires that theatre machinery and the bird will map out their stolen dreams, accentuating our memory. And only then, a better life for all will be a realistic destination. Because in who we were lies who we are and who we will be. Who we can be.
It starts with a soul that needs or that wants, you know, to create an environment that we live in today. So I feel like all these other struggles that we're going through is because of a certain sense of spiritual poverty that we're going through, you know. I feel like there was a spiritual genocide that happened prior, you know, slavery, prior apartheid, prior our current neo-slavery or neo-colonialism or this neo-apartheid that we're faced with here in South Africa. So I feel like there's a sense of spiritual poverty because you have to have forgotten who you are in order for you to hurt that which reminds you of who you are,
The slam is happening tomorrow.
There's an ongoing debate on whether slam poetry is killing the art itself, the art of poetry, or giving progress to it. What's your take on this?
I'm not of the view that poetry needs to be this narrow, precious thing that people hold close. For me, it feels like something really broad that encompasses many different things, and it's kind of like the more the merrier. So I love slam.
If you would be so kind as to remind me of our agreement, please.
We resolved that I will discuss no details whatsoever with you regarding the event.
Except
for my victory.
I do hope that our deal still stands.
Indeed, it does.
Then break a leg.
Thank you.
Fuck, I love slam, man. Yes, sis. That stuff is good. The adrenaline is insane.
The slam is about to go down. We're about to do this thing big time all day, every day. Holla.
Yeah,
Shelela boys in the house.
Oh yeah, Shelela boys in the house.
Yeah, skimming amampandla.
Yeah, but yami inkulu
kunile yabona. Why manje umdlalisa la ngempandla nto?
What performer today? Catch Bonga doing
killing it.
He's murdering it.
He's demolarizing it.
He's putting it to extinction.
He's vanquishing it.
He's putting it to extinction.
We no longer hail the Holy Spirit to come and be with us, live in us.
Nah, but we'll have a performance, man, part of Within Sound All Stars. Should be a fun one, eh? I'm taking it.
Yo, it's gonna be crazy.
Fuck the dubs aside. I don't know, but I have to take it. For my crowd, yo. For my crowd.
We haven't seen some of these cats in a minute. Bonga is back, brother. The ladies, ooh, le matate.
I'm not usually this forward, but you look like you could use someone to talk to. And we held hands like lips sealed in a kiss. Our inherited tools fit like pieces of a puzzle we must have put together before in heaven. And I tell her, by the way, this is not a pickup line, but I wish you came with a hand job. I wish you came with a handbook. So I can perhaps learn how to read your palms and see if I'm anywhere in your future.
Feel it? Hey, you feel it, Antoine?
Andrew's on the lineup. The conceptual. No one has concepts like Andrew, man. He'll kill you with concepts.
Esther, you were airborne, hanging in the balance. Nature's water broke and you fell down to the earth in a rainstorm. You made your own crater to cradle you. The Milky Way has been trailing you, calling you home, and I am the patron saint of lost causes, trying to carry you back to be a stud in the canvas of sky, but away from the earth. In a journey that long, so many days, I would return to clay, and you would become stardust. You see, Esther, even in death you'll shine.
Yes, see, Afura Khan, veteran. You know he's gonna give you some inspirational shit.
God is a wizard, and I'm his magical bag of tricks. And all he needs to do is think and I spit. And all he needs to do is think and I spit. And we don't need blunts to reach the highest ultimate level of thought. Because we smoke life, rolled up in papyrus leaves, blow out smoke rings, and let them hang around certain planets.
Who else? Masai Tawul is just an angry young man, man. It's just an angry young man.
Remember when we used to sit under the moon, relentlessly remembering the future, gazing at the stars, bruising the skies. But now you collect my mistakes and broken promises, carelessly shoving them in the bloody chambers of my heart. Remember when we used to meet our dreams together, to see if our insanity humanity was real or just an idea. Remember when prayer failed you? I was the one who used this blood, sweat and tears to scrub and wipe clean all your flaws. With my weak back, I carried your insecurities with pride. Loved you even though you didn't think you deserved to be loved. Woman!
Mandy, yo. Mandy's gonna poke at white people. If there's any white people in there, she's just gonna poke at them and wanting them to be their maids.
Me, I want a white matron. She will serve my kids bacon in a greasy old apron. They will call her auntie. Throw tantrums when they are hungry. Then we can talk about this equal opportunities. When my garden boy is white, the garbage boy is white. All those on strike on a go slow are as white as snow. We can then bow to this bullshit of a rainbow.
Those who keep with it for as long as they can, you can see their work.
We're modeling this art to fit into people's trends and what people are currently being fed from media, like your techno age media that's happening right now, like your Facebook, your Twitter, your whatever. So that's what we're currently sort of, I don't know, shifting it into. And I feel like it's getting there slowly, but yeah, it will get there in due time.
South African poetry is growing, actually. It is. I think it's getting to a point where it's, people are starting to listen up, which is fantastic. So from that, I think a lot more people are becoming conscious of the ideas to which they might possibly have been blind to before, which is a great thing, because then we can just teach that guy over there, and then he'd go teach 2 other guys, and then they'd go teach 2 other guys each, and that's like 6 people at a go from just one guy, It needs to enter popular media. It needs to be there, like music. It needs to be like Chris Brown type, where girls are just partying to it. Like, he's really like jam. He's talking about politics, Choma, in the club. That's, I think we need to get to that level where we can talk, and people really listen and consider the ideas we present.
It's not the first time that we have gathered here to pray between these trees, to wash the blood of our daughters with tears from these trees. It's not the first time that this forest has shielded these men, had them cowering in shadows. We are raped and carved by men we know, regular Joes, people to whom we have opened our doors. And we go back to our houses, to men who barely look at us women who wear our skins with stitches on our kitchen walls. Our blood is still dripping, our knees are ripped and torn from trying to scrape pieces of ourselves from our bedroom floors. Our sheets smell of mistresses, where our husbands bury empty promises. Too many times have we had to wash our spirits and leave them out to dry, only to lose pieces of it to judgmental eyes. So we are trapped in marriages that comfort us with violence, and we watch our daughters turn to scraps by men who autograph their skins with scars, marks that scream, he has been here, he has been here, he has been here, he has been everywhere. We are mothers to these men, and they are hollow branches to family trees too many times, and they came, seen and left us in tatters. Pieces of us are still scattered amongst these trees too many times, and this forest shielded these men and had them running back to the shadows to find Elysium. We have been too tolerant. We always forgive them. We must burn down these trees. We must burn down this fucking forest so we can finally see them for what they are.
Ngeke ngasobheliswa ama-corporation amakhulu ndoda ngama-payments phela manje yabona sesibigithi.
But also we But the thing is, dog, we end up taking these gigs that people say they'll pay a deposit within a certain amount of time and they don't, and then they'll say no, we'll pay you after the show because we're desperate, you know? Because we're desperate, man. We need to pay bills, we need to buy food, we need to do this, we need to do that. You know, but these days will end. These days will end. These days will end. Bona bafana bana. Intona zazigela. Bona dinyanezwa. They're gambling. They should be doing poetry. They should be doing poetry. But you know, you see things like this, you're thinking, I need to give back to the community, create something for these kids, make something happen. But how can I give, what will I be giving back to the community when I don't have anything as that? You know? I'm going to be this bitter guy who's in his late 30s, he's been giving back to the community what he doesn't have, and he ain't got nothing. I'm not trying to live like that. So the idea is to get something so we can be able to give something. We can't give what we don't have.
Generally, people see you killing it on stage, and they're like, yes, that's this dude, right? Which is awesome. But they don't know some of the struggles you're faced with on a daily to be able to do that. And so when you've been grinding at this for we've been doing it for years, man, you know what I mean? For us to have the brand names that we have now, we've been doing it for years, and we've putting in the work, performed at every show at your own expense, you know? And it's hard, you know, there's other, life has got its own challenges. Maybe there's financial challenges at home. At the end of the day, you're not bringing in money at home, and there's rent that needs to get paid, and all that stuff. And so you end up having to weigh about, you know, is this poetry thing really going to pay dividends now? What's happening? So you end up being caught between economic challenges and, you know, your craft and your love for it, and there's it not being practical, not feeding you economically. But the only way it can do that is if you push and pay your dues and put in the work. But you can't do that if the economic challenges are immediate and not futuristic. So it's bridging that gap, you know, and so it's hard.
I had an epiphany a few days ago. No. This was last night. Yeah, I had an epiphany last night. That dopeness, man, is standard. You know, being dope is standard. Like rehearsing and getting your work right, that's standard. That's not even something to be proud about. So you'd expect poetry now, if dopeness had maybe was something worthwhile, poetry should be on another level right now. So there has to be something bigger than that. There has to be something above just being dope, and that's making the money. That is making the money. Being dope, man, is standard. Like, that's not something to be excited about at all.
No, you can't say it's standard. I feel like it's not everybody's dope.
No, of course. Yeah, no, of course. I'm saying for a particular level, there's a point where being dope does not matter.
Not enough.
It's
not enough.
It's at all, because, dog, it's been happening. There's been dope people, you know, but where are they now as far as the craft is concerned? You know
also,
what I mean?
where did the dopeness get the craft? Like, how far did you push the craft, you know?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's really exciting and interesting knowing that this is all you have. There is no plan B about it.
Yeah.
This is it, and this has to work.
There are people, and I know these people personally, who are content with writing the poem, and that's it. You know? The person is content with writing the poem and waking up in the morning and going to work, whatever work is. There are people who are happy to write the play, read it for themselves, and that's the end of that. And many people don't know about that person. And like, there's a guy, and this is not to say that the people who are celebrated are weaker, but like in an instance where someone writes an okay play and it gets sold well, and someone writes a brilliant one and they shelve it in their cupboard, when does one become the artist and when does one not? I think fame is a quest, I think people vilify fame. And granted, it's got its downsides, but like, so does not being famous, you know? It's all about how you negotiate yourself in both the realms, I think.
They are artists, then they're celebrities.
What is Phantom?
Phantom is an old friend.
Is he a celebrity or an artist?
He's a celebrity who was once an artist. He stopped making art so that he could be celebrated. So he started making entertainment so that he could make some money.
So if there was or is money, but it is or was not for art, then what is or was it for?
For entertainment.
Can the two not mix?
Those blend as well as water and oil do.
So you never mix it.
I have a child, a family, and a home to provide for.
This work speaks personally to our lives because we're from that school where it's like you go for the art and you go for it hard, you know. And now is a time where we have to take off those wood claps, those you know, those you know, yes, those blinders, and say, look, we must eat. We must. This, and times are changing. There's the internet. There's all these other mediums, and they must be used in order to take out the art.
Camera?
Thank you very much.
My main man right here. It's my Just Talk entertainment partner.
Yeah.
It's finally here. Been dreaming about this for many years. Finally had the guts to do it, and we're doing it. The one-man grand slam at the Vets Great Hall. I'm nervous as hell. Out of my wits on how it's gonna turn out. Not really about the performance, but more about the turnout. It's a 1,000-seater, you know. But I'm trusting God, and whatever happens, man, I would have done it. The whole idea behind this is to say, yo, you can be a poet full-time. You can be a profession. You can make good money out of it. With all that life throws on you, construct your memory bank and forget not that nothing can ever be found unless sought. Hence seek, and you shall find. But always remember to seek first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and the rest shall be added upon you. Now understand that one will never seek unless they believe that there is something to be found. And one will always seek if they believe in He that tells them to seek, for there is something to be found. It is thus when we act upon our beliefs that we truly believe. And it is the practicing of the believing that is the seeking of the kingdom. Do you understand? Give it up for Moses Pagate! Kagaza asked me a few days ago why, if she may ask why do I prefer one man's instead of like a show with other poets, and I told her this exactly. You know, that at the end of the month I need to pay rent, and if I have a show with someone, we're going to have to share the money. You know, and if the people that came are people that could have come, even if I had a show alone, then I might as well just have a show alone and have all the money to myself. I'm not at a space where this thing is a luxury, and whether I take all the money or not does not matter. I need to pay rent in this place. I need to put food in this fridge. You know, I need to pay school for my daughter. You know what I mean? So that's that. That's that. It's all about the influence. I'm saying poets should start working to have that influence. You know, performing in one space every month that has 150 people is not even close to being enough. Like not even the slightest close to being enough. You know, there's over 100 people in a, wow, dog. No. But yeah, I don't know, I think I answered.
The flame is dying, man, you know, for the poetry scene, because it's not progressing. For the past 5 years, it's still the same thing. It's still favoritism about who performs at which shows. It's still us trying to compete with each other. It's still a little bit of media exposure here and there, but there's not much progression. And sometimes the reason for that is because of our approach. We're not approaching it
how we should in order to make it mainstream. And that's why I push unity, because us and our various strategies, surely they can come together better if we work together. And that's why I say let's collaborate more. It's one of the best strategies. Unity can, you can't fail with unity. When you're in a war, soldiers must unite in order for them to win a war, and that's what it is right now.
I think everything that we need to know and we want to learn about it lies within our reach, Kilabon, and ultimately now the new poet must know and must learn and must unlearn certain things, and must really be understand why is it that they're writing, why is it that they're producing art, because José once said that as a writer you must produce. As an artist, your work is to produce.
Yeah.
That is it.
Ukuthi njena insuku ayifani. Uyazi kwezinye inkathi ngeke abasho ubusuku bonke ngalali ngithi ngicima isibani kuqhume isikhalo seminyaka. Ngangisemncane kakhulu ngenkathi ngishiyoma benobaba ngaphenduka intandane engenabani lingishonela ilanga ngazazi ukuthi ngakusasa ngodlani. Yebo wangithatha umalume wami kodwa thenga ngaphela ngisho iviki ehlezi nami obesengigqilaza engihlukumeza ngokocansi sengaphenduka unkosikazi ekhuleni kwami ngahla phansi. What was I to do? Anyway, the hero street lights were calling and I was like hello, next thing you know njenge e-toll system sengikhokhisa wonke umuntu odlula la. But not Stephen. Stephen was different. Lawyer, ngangamkhokhisa ngisho isent we moved in together after I fell pregnant because he loved me in spite of my work ethics. But see, he had a lot of secrets. I asked him what he does for a living. He said, I'm hustling. Next thing you know, I'm in prison for drug smuggling. Now how's that for a man that came like a thief in the night? And Ushila was the cell queen who led me to a different sexual exploration in Tengenaba. This other time she beat me to a miscarriage. So yeah, I'm a woman with quite a lot of baggage. So are you still lost in me?
And the sun shines. Let me hear myself. And then when the day, I like that.
I've recently had like the vision of one day through my poetry bringing enlightenment to someone. What happens through my poetry as opposed to what I aim to do, because I feel like also a lot of it really happens by itself, is that it's a matter of sort of taking people from like the grass level of things where everything is so rough and so negative and so bashful and all of that to a transcendental level where everything has meaning and context and is a lesson and is part of the journey that we as human beings have to go through in order to get to wherever it is, wherever we're going, wherever particularly our spirits or higher self or souls are going.
And the sun shines.
The secrets of the days and nights. There is enough space for all of us to shine. For me to take a stand. For you to make that first step. For him to finish his lines. For her to run the race. But for all of us to dance in flames with the stars. So do not shut your temple doors. Whatever you seek, seeks you. Do not shut your temple doors, for whatever you want, wants you. Do not shut your temple doors, for whatever you know, knows you. Whatever you seek.
Who I walk away with are people that I find that they are not just beautiful from the outside, but even from the inside. That they can, with whatever they say through their mouth, with whatever they do, they really touch and connect with my soul. Those are people that I never forget in my life.
When you meet someone, you meet their ancestors. And that's what presence is about, right? So, I come and I say hi Nako, but I don't just meet Nako. I meet everyone who has shaped Nako. I meet your grandmothers, I meet your mother, I meet your grandfather.
Because I carry them with me, right? I'm their mirror.
Exactly. And that's what I meet spiritually when I see you.
And I think if we can start honoring each other as
mirrors that, oh, like Uvangi was saying.
Why be a mere mortal
When you can be a god?
How do we now, as a young generation of writers, how do we actually inspire the next generation? That is the question. Because now, if you're going to constantly be very much concerned about how we look on stage and what we have to say in front of the cameras and all that bullshit, I mean, really, what are we teaching our children, that it's okay to fart on stage? Is it okay to actually chogos a couple pen and call it poetry? Bullshit. Matlaka, what's a cabello? Very good friend of mine. He says to me, my brother, my figure once told him something, or my brother, my figure and China something, or who are you writing to? Who are you writing for? You know, and that question is stuck with me ever since, because.
No, but you know that question, to interrupt you, is a question Unguki also asked.
Yeah, man.
You know, says as African writers, who are we really writing for?
Exactly.
Are we writing for the West or for the world, telling them about the African condition? Are we writing for our own people?
Finding out what the world is in hunger for. And if you can give them and serve them what they want, this is also one of those mediums. And I think we shouldn't be afraid of doing that and saying that this is only for a certain few. It's for a lot of people.
If you can give all of you to a plant, say a peach tree, and you take care of this peach tree, man, like from when it was a seed, and the more you do that, the many more trees you have, and more fruit you have. So it's all about exerting yourself and giving yourself to that thing that you want. And when you give yourself to it, man, when you put enough work, it will happen. And it will take care of you because you took care of it.
The city sings in sirens. City sings in sirens. Accompanied by screams. Accompanied by screams. The symphonies of violence. Symphonies of violence. The music made by thieves. The music made by thieves. They've taken my appliance. They've taken my appliance. They'll take what's all my prize. They'll take what they require. They'll tire as they come and break you out of your seat. They'll replace you on the song and carve a little cow of a light they never see. Light they never see. Of a light they never see. Of a light they never see. Dark is their delight. City sings in sirens, accompanied by screams. The symphonies of violence, a music made by thieves. They've taken my appliance in defiance of my pleas. They will take what they require and retire as they flee. They'll break into your car and carve you out of your seat. They'll replace you on the tar and charge away at the speed of a light they've never seen. The dark is their delight in a night of stolen dreams. They would like for you to fight so they can kill you for a reason, to justify their actions to a pack of prying fiends, or multiplying factions to affect your entire being. We walk around in fear at the gaze of fire demons. We sail the night in fright of the flame inside these gremlins. We hope to stay alive, but know that death is pending. There's a special kind of knife that will bring you to your ending on the most terrible of nights. They'll sting you for refusing and retire out of sight with their winter spines hanging.